Hello, I'm Dr. Linnea Mortis, the CTOL director, and today we're going to learn how to create your first Wooclap. And we're going to learn how to Wooclap in Canvas so that it connects to your gradebook, and also how to use it outside of Canvas. You can connect it to your PowerPoints. And another option is to bring in your PowerPoints into Wooclap. We're going to go to wooclap.com, put in your email address, and continue with SSO. If you don't have an account, it'll prompt you to create an account, and you can just pick that you are an educator at the university level. So this takes me to my Wooclap. From here, I can create my first Wooclap. Let's go over the basics of just creating a Wooclap. We're going to go to Create Event here on the left side. Now, remember, you can create your event and start from scratch, or you can go here to the top right where it says Show All Templates and look at the public templates on the right. There may be something that piques your interest that you can start with to create your own. I'm just going to go back to my Wooclap here. I'm going to go to Create Event. You can think of it as a class. For example, maybe it is, week 1, day 1, or maybe it's Monday, or maybe it's the topic of that class. So regular present tense, and I've created the title of this. And now I can create my questions by just going on to new question. I can also import questions that I already have from another course, and I can look at examples in my gallery. So this gallery is a basic gallery that's broken down by the subjects, but I wouldn't really look at the subjects because you may find something that matches what you want to do. I want to click on new question, and here I can choose all kinds of questions. We have multiple choice, poll, word cloud, and word cloud also exists as a open question if you want it to be in the list form instead of words. We have label an image, drag and drop, find on image, matching, fill in the blanks. I really like fill in the blanks as a language instructor. You can set how strict you want the fill in the blanks to be. So for example, maybe it doesn't recognize small spelling errors, because I know that can be difficult sometimes for students to spell things correctly, but maybe you do want them to spell correctly. For math, you have find a number. This also works with statistics and for any kinds of quantitative reasoning. Sorting is really nice because they can put things in some kind of ranking order. Here we have the script concordance test. I haven't used this one myself, but I could see that it would be useful in business, where you may have students give their findings, what they think, versus what experts say, or if you're looking in sciences and looking at a hypothesis versus the research that was actually done and what the final results were. This one shows a lot of potential for higher order thinking. Poll, which we all know what a poll is. What I really like about polling is there is a way to turn on comments on the polls. So let's say that you give a poll, but you want them to actually defend why they said what they said. You can ask them to add a comment to the answer that they gave, and then you can read all of the comments to see why students actually selected a certain answer or a certain response on a poll. Word cloud, brainstorming. This framework is where, of course, you can use for collecting and categorizing your audience's ideas, and they can add in what they think belongs to each of those categories. Brainstorming and framework are similar, but one is a little bit more collaborative, and this one is more where each individual student is bringing in their responses to each of those categories. And then, of course, rating, you can do a survey. Maybe this is something that you want to do at the end of your class to see what students understood about the lesson. Maybe this is a way for you to gather kind of mid-semester feedback before the course evaluation to see where you can make any instructional decisions or interventions in the class. And then you also have prioritization, where the students can select what is the priority here and give it different levels. You can also add in an audio or a video. You can create your own slides. However, I will say that I don't really like this feature. If you're just making a really very basic slide with an image on the right and a title at the top, then that's fine, but it doesn't really make really pretty slides. And then a timer is really nice if you're doing an activity, say you're doing a pair and share kind of activity or group work, then you can leave this timer up so that students know that we're only doing this for this amount of time. I really like the spin the wheel. What I use it for is to do participation. You can use this as a way to call on your students. I still believe in cold calling students to make sure that they're prepared. It does a random pick. There's other ways that you can use this, but I like it as a participation wheel. Okay, so I've gone over all of those. That's a lot. I'm just going to start with a very basic open question. What is the present tense? Okay, so now I can add correct answers if I want to. At this point, since this is an open answer, I'm not going to put any correct answers here. I can make it a list version or a word cloud. And notice that I can add, if I want, likes on answers. I can allow students to actually put in images, which for this it doesn't work, but maybe in another kind of activity. For languages, I can merge accents. I can add a timer. I'm just going to click save. So now I've created my first Wooclap here. What is the present tense? And let's say that I just went to new question and I created more questions this way. That's all you have to do. And then when it's time for you to display these questions, you can go here at the top right to start event. Students can use this QR code to log in, and then it will bring them into the class. You'll see the numbers here on the bottom right, and students will be able to vote here. To see their results, you will make sure that you are clicked on either the results grid, the results list, the word cloud, but you don't have to click on any of these yet if you don't want the answers to appear yet. So say I want all students to answer, and I can tell by saying 1 out of 1 or 10 out of 10. And then once I see that all students have answered, then I can show the results. That way I don't want students saying the same thing. Or you can leave it open if it doesn't matter for that particular item. So now we can see that we've created that Wooclap. So I am going to go ahead and exit out of here. And notice once I've exited out, then I can go and I can check the results. I can go to check the results, and I can go and see how the students have responded. I can go by question, I can go by participant, or I can go by grid. If I have multiple questions here, I can see how a particular student did. I can see what the average in the class is, and I can export this to Excel. Now, if we're using Canvas, if we're putting this in Canvas, we can also grade this and give students participation points. So we're going to go over how I would bring this into my Canvas course. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Canvas, and then from Canvas I'm going to go to a course here. Now in Canvas I want to set up a Wooclap. I'm going to go to my modules here in my class, and I'm going to click on the plus sign here, create an assignment, and I'll just call this present tense Wooclap. Add item. I will click on it, go to the edit button, give them some instructions, click below to participate in today's lesson. And for this, I'm just gonna give it 5 points. I'll leave this in my attendance and participation for this. And instead of it showing as points, I'm not worried about it in this particular instance if they got everyone right. So I'm just going to make it a complete and incomplete that they've completed. For submission type, I'm going to choose external tool, click on find, scroll down to LTI for Wooclap, click on it, click select, Make sure you have this checked, load this tool in a new tab. If I want to assign it, I can assign. But for this, since it's just going to be a in-class activity, then I might just leave this open. Then click Save. I'm not going to publish it yet because I want to make sure I have it correctly created. Here, it's going to say this tool needs to be loaded in a new browser window. Click here. This takes me to an empty Wooclap. There's nothing here because I can start and create it from scratch here. Notice that it is synced with my LMS, and I can choose if I want the results synced or the participation synced. What is the difference? Results means I want to know if there were 5 questions, if they got a 4 out of 5, a 3 out of 5, a 2 out of 5, or participation. I just want them to get the points because they've completed it. I'm just going to click participation because I'm not really making it a quiz. I can look at my settings here. I can change things as I want. I can make it competition mode. I can add timers. I add groups. I take this off, display answers automatically. I actually don't like that because I want students to try first before they see what other students have done. So I take that out. I can also enable let participants signal if they are confused. If you're checking things as you're teaching, then that is great. And you can see when students don't know what's happening. Do not change anything on authentication. That when it's already linked to the Canvas LMS, this will happen by itself. If you want, you can allow the participants' usernames. I just make this anonymous. I will know what students have done when I look at my results. I don't want their names to appear on the screen because that's the point of making this engagement low stakes, right? You can also generate an attendance sheet. So maybe I do want to generate an attendance sheet for my event to just keep track of those things. I also have, if I want a message wall, this means that students can contact me while I'm doing the Wooclap and there's a wall of messages that appear. I can change the theme, I can make a logo, I can do anything I want there. The web is going to be the best thing, especially since some of these answers are not just true or false. These are all kinds of different activity types. Okay, we have this blank Wooclap that's connected to our Canvas, but we've already created a Wooclap. So we want to import those questions. Next to new questions on the right of that, you see where it says import questions. Click on import questions, and now I'm gonna find my original present tense. Okay, what is my original one? It was called regular present tense. It was this one right here. Please be careful with how you name things in Wooclap, or you'll get confused and you'll have several things with the same name. They'll all be called Wooclap and you can't differentiate between one or the other. Name them the topic of the class. Make sure that you have some kind of consistency there. Now I'm just going to go and select all. I'm bringing in these Wooclaps to this course. I'm going to go back to that Wooclap that I just created, present tense Wooclap. Click there. It is not published yet. To know if you have something published, go to view as student and you see that it's access denied. So I'm going to leave the student view, and then I am going to go and I'm going to edit this assignment, and I'm going to save and publish so that my students now have access to this. Now when I view as student, I can see that the student can go in, click this. Now I am in as a student on here, and it has please confirm your identity on this attendance sheet. So they're logged in on their own Canvas. It will automatically authenticate them, but because I've activated the attendance sheet, they have to do the second step of identifying who they are. This was called test student, right? It says test because I'm using the test student. Their actual name will appear where it says test. I'm going to certify and confirm my identity. Now remember, I have my Wooclap like as a professor in my Canvas. So as a professor, I would go ahead and start my event. I can skip past this because I've asked them to join via Canvas, so I don't even have to show them this. They can go to they can find the event there. But if you want to show this, it will still redirect them to Canvas. Now I'm showing this as the faculty, And then as a student, I would be going here. What is the present tense? So I'm going to answer this question, and I'm going to say it is talking about what is happening or a habit. Okay, so then I'm going to click submit. Now I've answered the question as a student. From the faculty side, I can see that someone has answered results grid, so results list or word cloud. So I'll just do results list here, and I can see what their answer is there, talking about what is happening now. Or what I do is I wait till everyone responds before I start showing the results grid, or at least several people have responded. So that is it. That is how you do that in Canvas. Now, we are going to move into how to bring your slides into this presentation. This is another way of doing your Wooclap. We can go back to our Wooclap. Here, where it says add presentation, I can then upload a presentation. I'm just going to add this technology checklist there just so you can see an example. What do I have here? Okay, well, I'll add the Cedo Express. Okay, we can see that it's uploaded now as this presentation. And let's say that I want to enter my questions into this PowerPoint. Then I'm going to click here, insert question. Now I have these slides that I have, and I want to bring this question into my PowerPoint. So I bring it here, and now I click save. And when it's time for me to show my presentation, I have some options. I can display slides on participant devices when the event is live. I like this option because then they can see the slides. So if they can't see, if they don't have their glasses on, then the student who can't see and is taking photos of all of your slides, they can actually see their slides on their own device. So that's one option. And then display slides on participants' devices when the event is not live. This is if the student wanted to go into the event and kind of look at things, even though it's not live, they could still see the slides. So you can also make that available to them. I have not played around with the presenter view, but that's something that you can play around with and let me know how it works. We've already inserted our questions. So now what I want to do is I want to show this presentation. Click where it says presentation here, and this play button here, display presentation. And now I'm showing my presentation. It's through Wooclap, it's my slides, and the questions will be intermingled in my presentation this way. So this is one way to do it. Now we're going to learn one more way, going directly to PowerPoint and creating your slides, and then bringing in your Wooclaps into that slide. I'm gonna just choose one of these just to give you an example. So let's choose this architectural drafting and planning. Has nothing to do with anything, but let's go ahead and use this. And now I want to bring in my Wooclap question. So I can just add in a slide, or I can put it on top of one of my slides. To give an example, let's just add in a new slide. I'm going to just add in this blank slide here. And then I want to add in my Wooclap question here. Let me tell you about this option. However, if you are teaching multiple sections and you want to use the same PowerPoint, then you don't want to put them into Canvas, because those students won't be able to get into a Canvas that is not their section. So you either need to create duplicates of your PowerPoint for each of your sections, or you use a Wooclap that is not connected to Canvas, or you do the option that I already showed you of bringing in your PowerPoints to Wooclap, and then you can just make, copies of those kinds of things instead of, or else it'll be kind of a mess if you have several sections and only half of your students will be able to get in. Okay, so here we're going to go to add-ins. So I'm going to go to my home here, and the add-ins looks like these 4 squares inside of a big square, like a window, like a 4-pane window. And then I'm going to search for Wooclap, click on Wooclap, and I'm going to add that in as an add-in. It is going to have me log into my Wooclap, and you don't want to just log in with your email. You want to go to single sign-on, because that will take you to the right Wooclap, because you could have more than one Wooclap and not even really know it if you've created your own, even if it's under the same email. So single sign-on is the way to go. Continue with single sign-on. Now it has logged me into my Wooclap, and I'm going to look for the Wooclap that I want. Present tense Wooclap. Okay, so remember I created two. Present tense Wooclap is the one that is connected to a class, and my regular present tense one is not connected. Like I said, if you have multiple sections, then you might not want to connect it to your course, or you'll create separate PowerPoints. So I am going to connect this to my course, and I'm going to check that one, and then I'm going to bring in the question that I want to bring in. So now that question is in there, and I can, resize things however I want to resize them here for my Wooclap. So let's say I have this as my Wooclap, and now when I go to present my PowerPoint, I'm just presenting my regular PowerPoint, and then there will be these questions here that are in my same PowerPoint. Now, let's go out of here. Now, I can bring this question as its own kind of slide there, but if you're going to be doing this, then you might as well just use the Wooclap and bring in your PowerPoints. You can make these smaller, right? And you can bring them on top of your slides. So there's just many different options that you can use. Please contact CETL, CETL at lincoln.edu if you have any questions, and we can help you get started with putting your Wooclaps in Canvas or in your PowerPoints, or if you just want to use Wooclaps with no slides. A lot of faculty use the Wooclaps with no slides. It's just something that breaks up, their lectures. All right, thank you. Have a great day.